You have, so many other amazing things like Men, Women, and Children. You do Mad Men, After Earth, like Parenthood. Before we get to True Detective, at this point, then, were you okay, or was it a struggle every year to kind of book these jobs? Because I know it's never the way it looks on IMDb of just like, oh,
Yeah. I don't want to get too woo-woo about it, but like
no, yeah,
when you're
yeah.
kind of in that despair where you're like, if you just can find a way to breathe through the frustration, keep moving forward, keep believing in yourself, something good will come. It's so hard to do. And that's why not everybody stays doing this profession because sometimes that gets overwhelming. And believe me, I fight that all the time.
Hi, guys. My name is Ryan M. Perez. I am the host and creator of An Actor Despairs. So glad to have you here. And thank you so much. David Denman, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you doing, man?
Good. I'm good. Very good.
It is such an immense honor to have you on this podcast today. And I say that with every ounce of sincerity in my heart, man. I mean, like, when I tell occasional guests this, and when I started this podcast, or I'm actually lying. Before I was too much of a coward to start the podcast, I had this list of like 180 actors that I worshiped. And
Wow.
just like, these are the guys that are doing the work that I want to do because, like, for civilians listening, that's I don't like that term. Sorry. For those who aren't in the business listening. I think the idea of an actor is like Tonight Show, Conan, like that old guard institution. But for most of us that are in it, like working is the goal, let alone to like consistently work. And you were one of the actors on that list. I mean, the career you have carved out and your ability to kind of navigate both like, comedy, drama, indie, action. I mean, it is like you are so divinely talented. And I'm just like enamored with what you can do and what you're capable of. And, man, I steal from you as I occasionally tell people. And, I just have so much respect for what you do. And it means a lot for you coming on today.
Well, I appreciate that. That's an enormous compliment. Yeah. I try to steal from him, people all the time if I can. That's the ultimate flattery.
Well, you're certainly someone I'm stealing from, and as my audience knows, man, I love to start at the beginning. So
Sure.
talk to me, David. Where'd you grow up, man?
I grew up in Orange County, Southern California. I bounced around a lot as a kid. I went to 8 different schools growing up.
Was there? Can you talk to where in the OC actually?
Well, and I was born in Newport Beach, and hold on, I gotta pause this because my dogs. I don't know if you can you hear my dogs like chain rattling like crazy? No, it kind
No,
of comes up and down.
no, I can't.
Okay. Um, hold on. I'm gonna pause because I want to take this off. This is gonna drive
Okay,
me crazy.
no problem.
Carpet, come here. Mercedes, can you get the dogs collar off? Yeah. Thank you. All right, take two.
All
Sorry.
right.
My
Uh,
dog's got like this thing, and my wife just came back from walking him, and I'm like, it's just gonna be running around under my feet, making me distracted the whole time.
you're
So
good. Editing note. Here we go. And so, where did you grow up, man?
I grew up in Orange County, all over Southern California, but I was born in Newport Beach. Really grew up in like Huntington Beach area, and then when I was, I think about 8, my family, there was this movie series called The Adventures of the Wilderness Family that starred this guy named Robert Logan, who my mother had gone to high school with his sister. Anyway, she had a big crush on him. They loved these movies. They were really popular in the late 70s, early 80s, but essentially it was about a family living in Los Angeles. Guy's like a construction worker, horrible smog, as LA had really bad back then. And the family said, screw it, let's get the hell out of here. And they go live off the land in Alaska. And it was a big, like, sort of adventure movie where, they're fighting wolves and mountain lions and bears. And anyway, my family loved that movie, and they decided basically to do the same thing. And we moved up to Washington State, and we bought a farm, and you know,
What
had
age are we
no
talking for you?
about eight,
Ooh,
something like that,
wow.
8, 9. Um,
Traumatic, like that change for you?
no, no, that was it was no, I was awesome. I was living, I was a huge fan of this movie. I still am. It's like my favorite movie when I was a kid called The Black Stallion. And I was like, I want to be that kid when I grow up. And everyone would laugh, that's not going to happen. You're never going to be a jockey, David, because I'm 6'4", 250, like I'm a big man. And my dad was big, my mom was big. So it's like, but I loved horses. And so I got a horse and I got motorcycles and my backyard was a forest and I was playing and so at that age it was pretty awesome. But that only lasted about a year and a half because part of the problem is there was no jobs. And so my dad, who'd been an engineer, draftsman, working in the aerospace industry in Southern California, was like running out of money, and it was not fun for them. And all of a sudden, about a year and a half in, he got a call one day from his old job saying, "Hey, we'll give you a promotion, we'll give you a raise," and he just said yes, didn't even talk to my mom about it, and was like, "We're out." And that, unfortunately, was sort of the beginning of the break between the two of them because, my mom was pretty hurt. She was like, "This is what we decided to do together. We're going to go take this big leap." And she was also someone who wasn't the most realistic person, She was a big
Yeah.
dreamer and just like, we can make it work. My dad's like, I'm too old. I can't do this. And, I got to provide for my family. So we gotta have to do this. So we moved back down to Southern California. I lived in Torrance.
How
And
long, what
then
age did you go back?
I was probably about 10, something like that.
It's
I
a
was
good
in,
2 years there.
yeah, about a year and a half. We were only there a year and a half. That was like yeah, that was the time. I'm trying to think of what grade I was probably, I went back. So I was in
Second.
fourth grade. So I was probably, yeah, I guess I was maybe 9 when we moved back. So then I ended up, my parents split the next year when I went into fifth grade. And that was traumatic. That was very traumatic.
Mm,
Um, and, um, and that's when, so at that point I'd gone to what, one, two, three, four different schools or something. But then I went to one school for fifth grade. Then I moved. Then I went to another school for sixth grade. Then I went to three schools in seventh grade. And then I went to another school in eighth grade, and then another school in high school.
oh my
So it's like I
God.
bounced around a lot, and
What was your
so
compass in that time? I mean, like it's impossible, because like now, obviously with social media, if you made friends, it would be easy. But then it was probably impossible for you to keep a friend, right?
no, I don't. Yeah, I don't have any friends from any of that time. I mean, I have I guess my oldest sort of still kind of friendship is someone from eighth grade, I guess.
Wow.
But um, but that's okay. I mean, it was what it was. It's all that stuff that sort of shapes you into who you
Yeah.
become. And but it for us, my wife and I, she moved around a lot as well. And we both are like, man, we really want stability for our kids. We don't want them bouncing around. And then we chose this crazy profession that
Yeah.
like makes it really hard to have that kind of continuity. But so far, knock on wood, we've been okay. And we've n neither of us have had to do a series out of town for very long.
Yeah.
So initially when we met, we're just gonna bring the whole family when we go on location, and we're gonna do that. And then I think I got a job. This is before we had kids, like in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm like, all right, baby, come on out. And she's like, what am I gonna do in
Pass.
Rock Hill, South Carolina while you're on set all day? Like sit in the hotel room. And then I was like, yeah, yeah, okay. So then I would just fly back and forth, and she flew out like once to like to hang out when I was in sort of a longer stretch on something. But we've just found that it's just easier for the kids now and for everybody just to keep their structure. And then as long as I'm not gone too long, um, we've been able to make it work. It's
Where,
not
where,
easy.
where home is for you in LA?
In LA. Yeah, we
Okay.
live in LA right now.
So,
Yeah.
so so then talk to me. Like you get to high school.
Yeah, so I
Do
get
you
to high school. So I
do
always
you
wanted to
lock
be.
down at one school finally, or are you still changing in high school?
No, in high school I went to 4 years. So
Where'd you go?
I went to Fountain Valley High School in
Wh-
Fountain Valley, California.
Okay, and
So,
that's still the OC or
yeah, Orange County.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Famously, Michelle Pfeiffer went there before
oh,
us. And but
athleticism, with your
no,
build, not
no, man, I wanted to be an actor since I could remember, since I was little. Like that's I remember seeing E.T. and going, I could do that. I want to be that kid. And seeing the Black Stallion being like, I could be that kid. I want to be
yeah,
that. My family's like, you're crazy. Like no one in my family was artistic at all. I mean,
same. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Funny
just
how
like,
that happens, isn't it?
yeah, I
The
don't know.
power of movies, man, or at least when
Power
they
of the magic of it. Yeah.
made them good,
Yeah. Yeah.
talk to me then about like, I've had a lot of guests, Matt Jones was just on, he grew
Mhm.
up, like Pomona, but like being in the periphery of Los Angeles, did you have that awareness that like, hey, I gotta get there eventually, or
That's a good question. Yeah, I never really came up to LA, like that was I did when I was like in yeah, like high school, college. I would drive up only to Samuel French to spend hours in there reading plays and buying,
oh, I missed that
books and
store on
stuff.
Sunset,
Oh,
man, the
yeah.
best.
That was a magical time. I would that was not until I was 16, when I had a car and I could actually get up there and do that on my own. But yeah, no, I had a high school was difficult for me. I didn't really
What?
fit in
Why
that
was that?
much.
Because it was
I was an
all
awkward.
jocks.
No, no, we had a really good so I went to high school with Craig Brewer, who, wrote and directed Hustle and Flow and Black Snake Moan
Got it.
and he's become a very successful filmmaker. Just did Song Sung Blue, which I thought was terrific.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Um, so
And you
he
guys were
was
buddies?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like best buds in high school. And another actor who's become very successful, Omar Metwally.
Oh, I love Omar. He's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, he's great. So Omar was a year below me, Craig was a year ahead of me, and we had this like really great theater program. We had this teacher who her name is Patty Dublé, and she well now it's DeLeon. Sorry, she got married.
Yeah.
But when I knew her, that's what her last name
She's
was.
still with us?
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
still around. She
Yeah.
just retired from being a high school teacher. She was only at Fountain Valley for a couple of years, but it was really really pivotal, changed my life. I really wanted to be an actor. I was an awkward kid. I didn't fit in with the groups. I didn't have a great home life with my parents being divorced, and my mother was an alcoholic, and I was a troubled kid and had a lot of learning disabilities. So I had really bad like reading comprehension and stuff. But for some reason, when I read plays, like everything like clicked, like I could fill in all the other stuff. But when I would read a novel, my brain would stop.
Meander. Yeah.
I could not consume that stuff. And so I had this great teacher who really encouraged us to be a self-sufficient department. So she would teach you how to be a lighting designer and be like, you're going to be the lighting designer. And I remember like learning how to produce a play. Like we were we were doing crazy plays in high school. We did like Amadeus and full
Jesus
costumes, and we rented the
Christ.
costumes from like
Warner
the
Brothers?
yeah, literally, seriously. We went up and like pulled all the costumes. Some of them, I think one of them was from like the actual movie or something. I mean, it was nuts what we pulled off, but we had to raise money. And so the way we raised money is we would go around and we would sell little like ads in our program. And I don't know, I really loved doing that. Like I hustled hard. And I remember, going around and raising thousands of dollars by just walking around into every store and just being like, hey, we're doing this play, we're trying to raise money. Would you be interested in just putting your business card in, or make a half page ad or a full page ad? And man, I got a lot of support,
Wow.
and just by having that tenacity. But it was, it's kind of easy to do when you really believe in something and you're trying, you really want to. make something happen. But anyway, so I did plays in high school, and and it really was Craig who was a big influence in my life because he had he'd wanted to go to ACT for like, and so he left school and went up to the summer training congress, and I was like, what is that? And it was like, it's an acting school, and no one in my family had gone to college. Nobody. My dad went 1 year to USC, I guess, but no one else, none of my siblings, and so there was never even a concept of me going to college because I was a terrible student. But when I heard that you could go to school for acting, and I was like, oh, that I could probably do, and I want to do that. And then I found out, like, late in high school that, oh, they had these, conservatories that you could just go and study. So once Craig had gone, because he was a year ahead of me, I spent the next year I'm going to do that too. I'm going to go to ACT for the summer, and I'm going to make that happen. And I remember a kid who we thought was like the real actor when we were in high school because he was coming up to LA and he was being in commercials and he was little bit parts in, like, the Addams Family and
Yeah.
stuff. And he goes, I'm going to go to Juilliard. And I was like, what the hell is Juilliard? Like, and he goes, oh,
Yeah.
Robin Williams went there and Kevin Kline and all these amazing actors. This is all before the internet. Like,
Yeah, you
so
didn't know. There was no other way to know. Yeah.
there's no way to find out other than, somebody, telling you or seeing some interview or something. And so I remember going, huh, I think I want to try to do that. And then I went to ACT for that summer, had an amazing time, learned so much, um, and lived on my own. I'm 17,
In San Fran.
in San Fran. That was a really incredible, magical summer. And and then I decided I wanted to go to ACT, but they wouldn't let you go until you were 2 years out of high school. So because it was a master's program, so they wanted older,
Life
people.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and and preferably people who had their bachelors, but they would entertain people who were younger. So I knew I had 2 years to to prepare for that opportunity, and so I went to Orange Coast College and had another amazing, amazing experience where they were really similar to my high school teacher. If you had the passion for it and you wanted to you know, um, produce a project, they were going to give you the space to do it. And so um, I did, oh my God, like in 2 years, I think I probably did like 20 something plays, like and plays
Wow.
that I directed and plays that I was in and on the main stage in the small little studio space. And we did
You're
one
almost
act.
doing better than a conservatory at that
Oh my
point.
God. I
Yeah.
mean, you learn by doing, there's
Yeah.
so much about, like, you sit in a classroom and I remember this when I was at Juilliard, I was like, I always felt like if I'm going to be here for 4 years, it better be in my bones. Like if I have to write it down and go look back at it, I'm not really learning it. At least for me, that was
Yeah.
that was for me. And I had a classmate, and man, this guy would take. He wrote novels, and I'm like, Bud, like, how is that translated? Like, you're
Yeah.
just in your head. You're not actually up doing it, and like, but that was how he processed that information. But
Wait, so
I
so
really felt like it's important to learn on the job, or not necessarily on the job. I wasn't getting paid. I did do one play at Laguna Beach Playhouse, which was the first time I ever got a paycheck, and it was the most glorious thing ever to get paid to do the thing that you loved and would do for free. Um, was amazing, life-changing.
so you obviously already gave the clue away that you did end up going to Juilliard. You did two
I
years
did.
there, and then
I did 4 years. I did 2 years at junior college,
yeah,
and then yeah,
and
yeah.
then and then talk to me about, like, because obviously the goal was ACT. Where did the pivot
Yeah.
to
So
Juilliard
I
happen?
thought if I'm going to audition for ACT, then I might as well audition for all of the best schools that I could think of. And I would go to my instructor and I'm like, okay, what are the best schools? And he's like, well,
Yale, NYU,
Yale,
Juilliard, ACT.
NYU, Juilliard, ACT. And
What did you do? Which
and
ones?
I auditioned for all those. I also auditioned for Harvard, ART.
Oh yeah, rest
And
in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I this is funny. I don't want to say the school, but there's a school uh in New York. And my instructor, I went to go get, you have to get like recommendation letters. And I went to him and I was like, I need recommendation letters for these places. And he was like, okay. And he goes, I'm not going to write you one for that place. What? He goes, no, you're not going to go there. I go, what? But it's in New York. It'll be amazing. And he goes, you're going to get into one of these other places. But I'm not going to waste your time. And I couldn't believe it. And luckily he was right. It turned out that I ended up getting into, so I went, sorry, I'll roll back. So I'm applying for ACT, Juilliard, Harvard, and NYU. I don't apply for Yale because I'm not, what was the
Their
reason?
undergrad program
Yeah,
is
it
not,
was,
it's
yeah.
not, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
couldn't get into the grad program because I was only 19. So, so back then you had to go to San Francisco to audition. So I drive all the way up to San Francisco. I audition for ART and then the next day Juilliard. And then 2 weeks later, I'm supposed to go back to audition for ACT and NYU. But I go, I do my audition and I come back on Monday, I get a phone call and they offer me a spot at Juilliard. And that was my number one choice. And over the moon, lost my mind. And then I did get a letter from ART and I did get offered, to get into there. So I didn't even audition for ACT. I didn't even audition for NYU because I hit on the school I
Yeah,
wanted to go
yeah.
to, and that was that. And
What group were you?
group 26.
Any other, ones we'd know for the
Alan
audience?
Tudyk,
Oh
you
my
know,
God. So
yeah, Alan and
see, you
Saba
were,
Ramirez and Stephen Kunkin. Yeah, we had a really great group.
I think Alan kind of publicly said that, there was like a little bit of like opioid usage in that group, and that's why he left. And so for you though, it sounds like it was a better experience than Alan had.
Well, yeah, yeah, Alan had a tough time there. But I don't know that it was because of the drugs that was the hard time. I don't know. I don't remember him if he was part of those guys that were using. But yeah, we had a crazy
Let's
we had a
talk about that
crazy.
New York at that time. New York was very
Okay.
different than the New York it was there. You,
Yes.
David, who had moved around so much as a kid, and obviously the OC is like had a very particular energy. You have this dream of Juilliard, and you
Yeah.
achieve it. It's your first offer. Not only are you going to go to this insane conservatory with, people that you're going to lock in for 4 years of like 16, but then you're moving to New York City. How does that affect you?
Well, I will say this. I didn't know what Lincoln Center looked like.
Wow.
I didn't. I had no
Alice
concept.
Tully Hall, what is it?
No idea. So in my head, the only connection I have with a college is Dead Poet Society. So in my head, it looks like Princeton, like that's what you're going to go to. And then you go into the city and you're like, oh. And I remember, flying out. Uh, I think I did the red eye or something. I know I got in so late and then we checked in like the next day. So I stayed at the YMCA for the night and I didn't sleep at all. I was just, so excited to start that next adventure. And then I remember walking in and seeing Lincoln Center for the first time and being like, oh, okay, we're going to be inside a building the whole time,
Yeah.
which we were. That recycled the air through all of those five buildings, and so anyone who got sick, it would be like, okay, just wait another couple of weeks because it's coming back around. Um, but yeah, no, it was incredible. It was a dream come true, and I always wanted to have to for that to happen, but I didn't know that it was possible, but you have to have that blind faith in yourself and just, I always felt like if you don't shoot for the stars, then you'll always regret it, like so if you don't audition, if you don't try to take that shot, then you just never know what could happen. And I
Yeah.
had so many friends that just incredibly talented that just never wanted to deal with that rejection, never wanted to
Yeah.
try and find out that they just didn't quite, it didn't quite land for them. And so I don't know. I had, a lot of self-confidence and too much self-confidence in myself at that time. I really wanted to take on the world but like I remember for me going to a place like that was about being with some of the best actors, to learn from.
You know,
Really to like be in a room with those people. I mean, and and to watch their talent and so almost more than the teachers and the instruction that I was getting was that group of people. Like if you imagine you're going to get
it's
the
like
best.
NBA style, the best of the best.
Yeah,
And
you're
and
going to
you
learn.
and you were gonna be the best. Always.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm
Yeah.
not, there's way better actors than me. Um but I knew that if I was with those people, I was gonna learn a lot from them. And so that was what I was most excited about. And Alan, I mean, from day one, I mean, I never forget his opening day monologue, and he just killed. He was so funny. His timing was incredible. And man, that's somebody I've been stealing from for
I
30
know.
years. I
I
mean,
gotta
like,
get him on the show. He's so good. Yeah.
he's so good and so talented. And the thing is, like, I know he's even more talented than everybody sees because there's a whole dramatic side of Alan's work that, like,
He's not doing
mostly doesn't do, but that's the industry, that's this
that's nothing
business.
to do with, yeah,
That has
positioning.
nothing to do with his talent. It's just like that, people like to pay you to see the thing that they have seen you do before. And
Again and again. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
because, and I don't fault them. The reality is they want to, a director doesn't want to have to tell you what to do. So that if they've seen you do it before, they go, okay, I know he's gonna be great. And then the producer's happy because they don't want to worry about spending all this money and it not working. It's like I get everyone's trying to protect themselves. So it's our jobs as actors to push against that. You got to say no to this so that you can say yes to that and then
Yeah.
show them. And sometimes, they're not willing to see it until they see it, you know.
Well,
Anyway,
I I
babbling.
feel I can no, you're not at all. This is great. We could literally probably do a whole podcast on your Juilliard experience,
Yeah.
but to kind of like, for the audience listening to kind of summarize it so we can dig into your work, I feel like at that time was still kind of analogous to the whiplash style approach to conservatory training, right? Where there was like cuts and there was a little bit more of a brutalism that doesn't really exist anymore. Was that hard for you to sustain 4 years of that? Oh, I guess after two is when they make the cuts, right? Or
Well, we cut people in the first year, we cut people in the second year, and in the third year is when Alan left. Alan had kind of, I mean, in all fairness to Alan, Alan had already had got an agent and a manager that summer before I think our third year.
wow.
Like he understudied some, I think, Bunny off Broadway somewhere, and an agent came and saw him, and so he was already kind of on his way. So I don't think he needed the fourth year because the fourth year is really sort of
The
just performance.
showcase,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
showcase thing for people to come see. So, you know, I like, and there were other guys that did that before him, that while we were there, that just like, this actor David Conrad was there for a while, and he, got someone signed him early, and he jumped at the opportunity. So, yeah, so for me, I mean, I will say the thing I learned most at Juilliard was how to deal with the politics of the people in charge, because I came head to head with somebody who's no longer there, who eviscerated me in a
Public way?
critiques. So what they would do is you do a play, and then the faculty would go up, and then they would all talk about every student where they are along the way, and then we would come down and we'd all sit in these circles, and we'd go around from teacher to teacher to teacher, and they would then, like, tell you your critiques of where you are and where you need to go. And I felt very strongly about wanting to um, play a part a certain way. I wanted to try to take a tack on a role, and she hated it.
What
And
role was it?
it was Trigorin in The Seagull.
Wow.
And I just felt at the time that there was a selfishness to that character, and she did not believe that. She felt like he just got swept up with this young love, and she may be right. I mean, to be quite honest, but at the time I felt like
Strong. Yeah.
this is a second year project, right? Like it's our place to fail, right? And if we don't get an opportunity to make a choice and go, oh, that didn't work, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, her argument was, well, when you make that choice, then the other person, it affects everyone else's choices, you know? And so then that makes that character look weak. And so she wanted to make the Nina character look stronger. And, there was a whole thing. And she was trying to, get in with the school and get her job and do well. And so that conflict, where we had gotten along extremely well before that, like for 2 years, but that conflict turned into her eviscerating me in the critiques. And I came down and I was told, um, basically, David, if you don't want to be here, you can go. And I was like, what's happening? What just happened? And I remember, another guy going, "Oh, this is going to be a rough day for you." And I'm like, that was like one of my first interviews. I go, what do you mean it's going to be a rough day? And he goes, just trust me, you're going to be okay. But you're gonna have a tough day today. And I went, uh-oh. And then I went to the next person, and then they were like, well, why did you make that choice? And I was like,
Here we
man,
go, man.
here we
Fuck.
go. And so I saw how if you played the game, you got rewarded. And when you didn't
Mm.
play the game, you got
Punished.
punished. And so I felt that. I felt that pretty heavily. But I stayed and I stuck it out. And I did want to leave. And my mom was one of the big people who said to me, I don't know anything about this, David, but I'll repeat what you said to me. If I go somewhere and I'm going to be with the best of the best, I'm going to learn from those people. And when you start something, you finish it. So I know it may be hard. Sorry, I'm getting emotional because my mom's not around anymore.
Oh,
But
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. Ah, but when you start something, you finish it. And so I wanted to leave because I was pissed. I felt that I didn't have, you know, the support I wanted, and I felt that, attacked. All the things. I was young and I was angry, you know. And but I sucked it up and I went back. And I'm glad I went back. I'm glad I persevered through that struggle. Um, because I did ultimately get what I wanted out of it. I got a lot of tools in the tool belt to pull from when I needed them. And I also got connections. I mean, I got an agent, which, if you can't get into the game,
Yeah.
you ain't in it, And so, like, yeah, it's
Where
all
did you
well.
end up? Do you remember who your first was?
Yeah, no, I signed with an agency called HWA at the time, Harder Wu and Associates, and they had an office in Los Angeles. And so part of their sort of selling technique was to say, hey, we got an office in LA. Patty Wu runs that office. And she's going to be in town, we'd love for you to meet with her. And um, I met with her and, she was like, well, hey, if you're ever in LA, let me know and we'll try to send you out. And I said, okay. And so that's why I signed with them. But I came to find out after the fact that that was just a lie. It's something that they tell you to try to sign you. And so I I graduate, I do a play in Rowheaton, Connecticut. I'm doing a 12th night, making like $250 a week. And I realize, oh, I can't afford to live on this. And maybe I should maybe I should consider going to LA now instead of I was going to spend at least a year in New York. But a buddy of mine called me and goes, "Hey, dude, I'm going on a up to Oregon for this wedding. Do you want to come with me? Take a road trip?" And I really needed a break because I hadn't gone home. I hadn't been in LA in 2 years or something because I
Wow.
went to Utah Shakes the summer between my third and fourth year. Um, and I go, yeah, okay. And so on July 15th, when that play closed, I flew out to LA and I met with that agent. And she goes, oh, you're here. Well, okay, well, yeah, sure, we'll send you out if you want. And I went out. My first audition was ER. At the time, it was like the number one show on TV, and I book it. And she loses her mind. She's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, this doesn't happen, David. Like, you might want to consider staying in LA. And I went, well, let me think about this. And I talked to my buddy who had just graduated from Yale, who I'd met at Utah Shakes the summer before. And he's 9 years older than me. So he was like, I need to go to LA now. Like, I'm getting too old to not be in LA. And I said, you want to just get an apartment? And he goes, let's do it. And so I stayed and I never went back to New York.
Wow.
And
Glad you did that. You know, I mean, obviously looking back, everything is
yeah, for sure. I just touching on Juilliard one more time. When I got out of school, just for, a short amount of time, every time I would go into an audition and I wouldn't get it, I would hear those teachers in my ear going, "Oh, if you just done your T correctly, if you'd done all of these technical things that you spent 4 years trying to
the
speak like,
aspirate, yeah, oh my.
then you would have gotten that job."
Yeah.
And the second I auditioned for film and TV, the voices went away
Wow.
because none of that stuff translates. None of it.
Yeah.
If you start talking with
I know. I had Jeremy Sisto on talking about working with the Juilliard actors on and just like, oh man, stop.
stop, you cannot talk like that.
Yeah.
Nobody on the
Yeah.
planet speaks like that. Are
Yeah.
we clear? I mean, that's the thing I learned after I left. I'm like, I'm glad. I've always been somebody who's like, you don't need to sound like that, but
Yeah.
I want to hear what you're saying, right? I'm a huge Shakespeare fan. If I can't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, then you failed me. Doesn't mean you got to sound like some robot, like, or some fictitious accent. Use your own accent, just articulate it so that I can understand the words. But because you drill it for 4 years, you feel like that's what you're supposed to talk like, and you have to lose all of that stuff. So when I got in front of the camera, I left all that stuff beside and I freed up and I started booking work. And I always wanted to go back to New York. I always wanted to, I tried so many times. I went back and auditioned for a ton of plays that were, either in the park or on Broadway, but I never got a bite. Like it's a very, it's a very cliquey community, and it's extremely difficult to come from film and television and go into that world
Yeah.
unless you're a star, unless you're, someone who's going to sell tickets. Great. There is such a backlash. They'd be like, what? What are you're just doing all this, being an LA actor. It was rough, man. And I finally, the business will tell you what where you fit in and where you don't. And New York made it very clear to me that you're not going to be welcomed into this community. And so I finally just stopped trying. And it was tough because that's all I ever wanted to do. I mean, man, I've seen
Yeah.
more Broadway plays than most actors I know, and
And you
but I
still have
still
yet to do
go.
Broadway?
Yeah, no, I've never done a play in New York. Never did a play in New York. All the plays I would do out here in LA,
You
which
and I got to do True West together. What the hell is that?
yeah, I mean, things have shifted now that I have two kids, and
Yeah,
so
and
all
also
of
the
my
money cuts of yeah.
yeah, it changes everything.
Well,
It's
and
like
we'll get to this later, but
yeah,
Hugh Jackman and these celebrities doing Broadway is affecting the same thing that you know, I won't because I got in a little bit of trouble of mentioning A-list actors here doing every 9 TV shows of just like
Yeah.
it is so hard. It's pushing everyone further down.
Well, I mean, I'm happy for anybody who gets a job. I really,
Yes, yes.
like it's in yeah, I mean I'm most happy when it's friends of mine who I know are struggling and at the same time when I'm struggling, it's like yeah, I mean we used to, when we would go in rooms, you'd see the same group of guys,
Yeah, it was the
you'd see the
best.
same people over and over and over again, and you become friendly with them and you kind of feel like you have this community. And once everything sort of pivoted to the self-tape, you lost all those conversations of
I
like,
know.
where you were, which is kind of fun about this podcast is where, I'm seeing a bunch of friends of mine who have done it and sharing their experience and how, the grind is challenging and there is a bit of you feel I don't know, a little relief that you're not in it by yourself.
Yeah.
It's like I'm like, people go, "Oh my God, you work all the time." I'm like, "Yeah, I've been working, but man, I haven't made a paycheck since like well before the strike, before COVID. Like that was sort of the last time, and even that was like the most brutal negotiation to try to get the salary that I had had before. They're constantly squeezing.
The MBAification of the business.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. They The problem is, it's well, there's a lot of problems.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to
before
add too much
we
about it.
I get it. Before we get into, because there's I mean, I don't want to gloss over. I mean, you do some pretty amazing things here. You got Chicago Hope, The Pretender, The X-Files, and then you jump into The Replacements. Like to kind of summarize these early years here. I mean, it seems like you get cooking and you're working.
I
How did that feel?
Incredible. I mean, people want to strangle me when I tell them, but like I only had to do like a regular job for 6 months after I graduated from school.
What
And
was it?
I was waiting tables. I mean, that buddy
Where?
of mine that I got, oh my God. There are no places that in LA that don't exist
Oh,
anymore.
okay, got it.
But I had like, I had, this is when it goes to that community, those friends of yours that like look out for you. When I was in New York, I was like, I got to get a job because like I can't pay my rent
Yeah.
doing this play. And so, this buddy of mine, his buddy was just like, "Oh, dude, I'll get you in at my restaurant." And I'm like, "What, really?" And I go, "But I've never waited tables." He goes, "It doesn't matter, just lie, dude. We all lie. That's how you get in." And I'm like, "Okay." And so he literally went to the manager, like, "Yeah, it's my buddy. Yeah, I used to wait tables in LA, blah blah blah." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then I got a couple of shifts there, and I remember like working a shift and being in training, and someone's like, "Okay, 86 them," and I go, "What's that mean?" And the girl looked at me and was like, "You never waited tables a day in your life." And I was like, "Shh." And I go, "What does that mean?" She's like, "That means we're out of it." I'm like, "Okay." But you just figure it out,
Yeah.
And then I came to LA and luckily my buddy who had had all these years of waiting tables, he was like, "We got to go get a job." And I'm like, "Okay, let's go." So we got an apartment and we went hustling. We walked around every restaurant in LA and we both walked in together and we both put our resumes in. This is back before cell phones, man. And so we had a landline that we shared, and they call to hire my buddy, and I pick up the phone, and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
hey." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, well, I was calling to offer Joe a job." And I'm like, "Oh, he's at another restaurant right now. He's already, oh, okay." And I go, "But I'll take it. I need the job." Like, "Oh, well, I was, um." Okay. And like that's how I got my first waiting job. And then we went in another place, walked in with him. They went to hire him, and I was like, I need a job too. And they, okay, we'll hire both of you. And
No
if it
way.
wasn't for him and that other guy before, Mike Blunt Sr., like I would not have gotten those breaks to get a job, even waiting tables. And so yeah, I waited tables for like 6 months. I did a couple of guest stars. I'd done a commercial in New York that I got incredibly lucky. They were renegotiating the contract, and my agent at the time, she goes, you know what? I could, it's not really ethical, but she was like, I'm renegotiating this contract with a bunch of my clients. You're the one client who I think probably doesn't want to continue to being on this commercial. And I was like, yeah, I'm not crazy about being on a Valtrex commercial. And she goes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to negotiate and have you get all of the bump. And I go, what does that mean? And she goes, I'm going to make them have a guarantee that they've got to pay you like 30 grand a cycle or something. And I was like, okay. And so instead of paying everybody, they paid me. And everyone, I mean, everyone got paid, but they didn't get the renegotiation bump
Yeah.
commercial, and that kept me alive that first year. Um, and then I got a pilot that first pilot season.
Which one? I'm got IMDb here. Was it?
It was called Bloomington, Indiana. It was a
Okay.
pilot presentation,
Okay.
and it never got picked up. It was on the WB,
What
and
year are we talking here?
this has got to be 98 because I
Okay.
graduated in 97, so it'd have been like 98.
Okay. So you had already
And
a few credits, ER, Chicago Hope, Pretender, all those
yeah,
things. Got
I
it.
got those that first year and I got that pilot.
Are these
And
guest stars, by the way, for the audience
yeah,
listening? So
yeah,
back
yeah.
in the day, like you didn't have like a post Juilliard co-star only year.
No, no.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I jumped like that first ER was a guest star, and my agent negotiated top of show because he was like, dude, he's got to join the union. He doesn't have any money. And, and they were like, oh, come on. But she got it for me. And I was able to pay to get in the union because of that. And
Wow.
yeah, I got
God.
insanely lucky in those early years, man. That was
But it was one of the
very
best
lucky.
time. My like favorite era of the business before the dot-com bubble into the odds. I mean, that was when they were making so many of these movies that so many people love and cherish. And I mean, like, talk to me about something about like the replacements. That's like the kind of movie they would never make now. Like would it feel like to go jump into something like that with Keanu Reeves?
Well, that was a incredible. That was another lesson in the business, like so I had auditioned. So I got at the time I got signed with Three Arts, who represented Keanu at the time, and so they sent me the script and they said, "Hey, read this and tell us if there's anything. There's a bunch of football players, so like if there's a part you want to play, let us know." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, like that's usually be like, "Here's the part, here's the side."
Yeah.
So that was a kind of weird. I was like, "Oh, okay." So I read the script and I was like, "Oh, well." In my head, I was like, I probably would be cast as this Brian Murphy character, but if they're giving me the option, I think the Bateman role is a little more fun, with a little more. There's a little more meat on the bone, and so I said, "Oh, I'll audition for the Bateman role, which is John Favreau's part." And they said, "Okay." So I did my audition, and Howie Deutsch was like, this kid's great. I love him." And they called me back again, and he's like, "God, great. I love this guy." And he's trying to get me hired. And the producer is like, "Who is this kid? What are you talking about?" And so I come back in again and just to the producer. And the producer literally says to me, "Dude, I've got John Favreau wants to play this part. I got Goldberg, the wrestler, wants to play this part. I got Michael Rappaport who wants to play this part. Why the fuck am I going to hire you?" And I went, "I don't know, because I'm better than them. What do you want me to say?" And he's like, "All right, well, let read the scenes. Let's do the scenes. I'm doing them for the producer." And he was like, okay, all right." And I'm like, "What do you want me to do different?" And he's like, "No, it's great." And I go back again for the director and I go, "Okay, Howie, tell me what the fuck he's doing that I'm not doing, and I'll do that." And he
Yeah.
goes, "No, no, 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 David, stop. It's not that. That's not how it works." I go, "What do you mean?" I go, "Just tell me what you're looking for and I'll give it to you." And he goes, "No, no, no, no. I need you to do your version of the role. and I need him to do his version of the role. And then I got to pick which one works. Because if I told you to do what they're doing, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like it has to come through your instrument. You're the one who's going to make those choices. And so I said, okay. And then I didn't get it. And I was like, this sucks. But I had a manager at the time, and she laid into this to these producers and this director. And she was like, "You've got to be effing kidding me. This kid is like come in so many times. There's a football team. Find a part, write a part for him. Are you crazy?" They go, I know, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So 2 weeks go by, and all of a sudden I get a phone call, and they go, "Hey, they've offered you the role of Brian Murphy." I go, "What? I didn't even audition for that part." And they go, "I know, because oh, now I can't think of his name. Another actor was playing the part." And he was negotiating. He wanted more money. He wanted the part to be bigger.
Yeah.
And they went, screw it. Let's just hire this kid and be done with it and save us that money. And so, he didn't get what he wanted, and it fell in my lap, and I couldn't have been happier. And then I remember we get out there, and we're doing all the training and stuff, and
It's
Favreau
like the
still
Ravens, right? That you guys take over for or something, the Baltimore
the
Ravens.
Washington Sentinels, which was
Yeah, like the Redskins knockoff or
yeah, but
whatever. Yeah.
it was based on the Redskins, and
Yeah.
but we did shoot in Raven Stadium, so
Got it. That's where because I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I remember.
ah
Yeah, yeah.
that whole time. So I remember we do we're going to do the table read for all the heads of Warner Brothers and stuff, and Favreau can't make it, and the director goes, "Hey, David, I know it's kind of unethical, but like, would you mind reading the Bateman part just for the table read because you don't have any lines? You're playing the deaf tight end." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I'll do that." And so we did the reading, and I killed the reading. And I come out of the room, and the director Howie is like pulling his hair out. He's like, "God damn it! They should have fucking listened to me. I told them. I told them. They're so fucking stupid." And I'm like, "No, Howie, it's okay. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to play the part I'm playing." I go, "Honestly, when I read the script, I probably would. This makes more sense that I would play this part." And I go, it's totally fine." And he was like, all right, all right, all right. But God damn it, those sons of bitches." So
Wow, what a G.
yeah, it was funny. But you realize like that you may be the best for the part,
And
and
it's
you
got
ain't
nothing
gonna
to do.
get it.
Yeah.
And you may want to, try to be what the other person is doing, and that's not gonna
Politics, man. It's back to
it's politics,
Juilliard. Yeah.
truth. And but yeah, that was an amazing experience. And
How was
the
Keanu? Did you get
guy
along?
was amazing. He was great. The guy was like, you know, I felt for that guy so much because he just come off the Matrix. And here's a guy who just wanted to be respected by his peers so much, like, and it was always like, well, we didn't get Brad Pitt or we didn't get Tom Cruise, so we'll get Keanu Reeves. It was like, it's like even he didn't get the jobs he wanted, like he was, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what? And he was the hardest working guy there. First one in, last one to leave, kind to everybody, just sort of didn't want the big giant trailer that they had negotiated for him. So he was like, someone else can have that. He was in the same size trailer that the rest of us. He just wanted to fit in with all of the rest of the guys. But where it really sucked is that the initial script that he read was a drama. And
And they
Warner
turn into a
Brothers
broad comedy.
turned into a broad comedy, and he didn't want to do that. And we're doing another thing in politics, right? I'm sitting next to Keanu at our dinner when the new script had come out, and I go, "Hey man, I really love the new pages." And so he goes, "You do, really?" "Yeah, I think it's funny." I go, "It's silly, and I think audiences will like it." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "If I would have read this script, I never would be doing it." And I go, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, not my thing." And I'm sitting across from the director and the writer, and they hear this conversation happening. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And And then we walk out of the dinner and I'd become friendly with Orlando Jones and he goes, "Dude, don't get in the middle of that." I go, "I wasn't trying to.
Yeah.
I did. I just was saying how much I liked it." And he was venting that he didn't like the changes. And it was like, oh no, I mean, I almost stepped in it. Luckily, because I walk out and the director and the writer corner me and go, "What did he say? What
Oh
didn't he
my
like? What did he say?" And I'm going,
God.
"No, no, no.
I'm not playing monkey in the middle on this.
He liked the other version of the script, and it was like, and then later I remember asking him, I go, "Dude, you're so unhappy. Why don't you just like pull the plug and be like, I don't want to work with this director, or I don't want to work with this, I don't want to do this version of the script." Because it doesn't work that way, Dave, because you don't know who the next guy is that's going to come in. And it could be 10 times worse, And the reality was they had already done Any Given Sunday that they had made, which was a drama and a
Yeah.
damn good football drama. And they didn't want to make another one. And Keanu had already signed on. The ship was moving. Everything was happening. And then all of a sudden they turned it on him at the last minute. And like, what's he going to do? Blow the whole thing up. And
Yeah, there's
so
like a musical number, right? Where you guys are like dancing or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
we danced in the jail cell, and
Yeah.
I mean, he went with it, but he fought Howie the whole time. Like Howie would give him a note, and he would deliberately do the opposite, and it was like, oh God, this is so awkward and uncomfortable. Like he didn't want to grab the girl and kiss her. He didn't want to lay into the cliches
The
that
sentimentality of that
the
American
sentiment, which
yeah.
ultimately is what makes, I think, really
I know it
charming.
actually does work
And
somehow. It
I think because I've seen him in interviews since, I
was
think he
glad that
has enjoyed the movie. But while we were doing it, it was a grind. It was not
yeah.
what he thought it was going to be, and so you just have to learn from that, and
Wow.
you
Thank you
know,
for sharing that. That's incredible. And
no problem.
I mean, then coming off that, I mean, you're in one of my all-time favorite movies, which I just like, I mean, fucking Out Cold, man. It's like that and Eurotrip are just like such like
It's
I love that movie. Like it's just like that I miss those kind of like that those kind of comedies were just like those were amazing and that was like my youth and like Out
yeah,
Cold is like I rewatch that once a year, and like that was Galifianakis before he was anyone
yeah.
and what's her name? Forgive me, the lead. Um I can't I'm blanking, but she's
I
incredible. And
yeah,
the London, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
was that fun? Then going to another one of those?
yeah. I mean, that was like, the irony was that was like another year later or something, year and a half later. And, when I'm doing the replacements, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to walk up this, on to the next one. And you realize, nope, that doesn't happen. You go on another 100 auditions before you get one. And, um, but yeah, I mean, the bummer about that came out like literally 3 weeks after 9/11 and bombed. And
Oh.
nobody saw it. Nobody wanted to see some
I love
silly
them. I rewatch it
snowboard.
every year. You're
People
the
in
fun.
snow
Got the
towns.
funniest character in the movie.
They love that. They love that movie. I mean, I have run into so many people. It's funny, Zach, I saw years later because I used to run into him back in the day when we still would audition and stuff. And he had just done Into the what is that Sean Penn, Into the Air, I think, or
Into the Wild.
Into the
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah. And he's in that movie. He's got a great little scene in that movie. And I go, oh my God, I love that movie. I love that movie. You're so great. And he goes, yeah, dude, that is the craziest thing ever happened. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I get a call one day from Sean Penn, and I think it's my friend fucking with me, so I just hang up the phone. And he calls back in, he goes, no, man, this is Sean Penn. And he was like, what? He goes, I'm serious. He goes, how do you have my number? He goes, my agent gave it to me. We have the same agent or something like that. And he was like, okay. He goes, look, I wrote this movie. I'm doing this movie. I'd love for you to be in it. I'm going to send you the script. Would you consider taking a look at it? And he's like, okay. Still thinking it's a prank. And then sure enough, he gets a call and he gets a script and he goes, okay. And he's sitting on set with Sean Penn and he was like, Sean, I got to ask you, how do you even know who I am? And he goes, Out Cold. He goes, my 16-year-old son watched that on repeat, man. I've seen that probably 100 times.
Oh my God, me
Yeah.
too. I
And he
love Out
goes,
Cold.
this is so Zach's like, so if you ever get a job from Sean, you're going to know how you got it. I'm like,
Wow.
that's funny.
We got to do an Out Cold reunion on this
Yeah.
podcast. Oh my God, man. But I mean, was that fun filming? Was that Alaska or
Oh, we were in Vancouver
oh,
for that.
Vancouver? Vancouver. Okay.
Yeah. And then we flew into a small town. Oh my gosh, I forget the name of it now. A couple hours. I mean, I think it was like maybe like, I don't know, like an all day, you know, drive, but we flew into this tiny little airport. It was so dangerous. I was sketched out, but we all survived. Um, yeah, I can't remember the name of that town, but yeah, it was cool.
Wow.
We had a great time. We had a lot of fun. I mean, I'm still buddies with Derek Hamilton, um, who played Pigpen in that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he lives up in Vancouver, and
Does
I've
he still
stayed.
act?
Yeah, every once in a while he
Oh,
still
okay,
does
okay,
it.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
he came down. It's like that's the part of this business that gets the grinds on you, and it's
Yeah.
like there's two parts of this. I always say it's like acting is one part of it, but the business is almost the bigger part of it. It's having the ability to sustain and stick around, it's like and there's nothing wrong with being like, you know what? I'm gonna go do something else to make sure that like I provide for my family and
Yeah.
I have that life that I need to have.
I,
Um,
I just got broken up with because I'm not doing that currently because of so I believe me, I get it, man. I get it.
yeah,
Those things happen.
it
And
happened.
I mean for you though, like I mean you're cooking here. I mean, you're obviously CSI, Crossing Jordan, Angel, like are you having the time? Are you aware that like you are, to go back to the Samuel French David, like
Yeah.
you're you're the working actor.
Yes. I mean, and at the end of the day, like that's really what I aspired to be. Like I just wanted to be able to keep my head down and not have to, I don't know. This back to Al Cole, Willie Garson was on that. And he and I were very friendly on that movie, and he gave me a lot of good advice. And one of his advices was, you don't want to get too famous that you can't sustain that. Like
Mm,
if you can be just famous enough, because it definitely helps that everyone in the business knows who you are. But if you get too crazy, then you have to live up to that, and that's really hard to keep that engine rolling. And I just always kept that. I was like, I just want to be a working actor. I just want to keep
yeah.
paying my bills and be able to just do this for a living if I'm lucky enough to do it. And that, I always felt like work begets work. I had a
Yeah.
friend be like,
Rufus Sewell
oh,
said that on my podcast. Work begets work, but just not on your watch.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I always say the other thing I always say is you're not auditioning for this job, you're auditioning for 10 jobs down the line. And that couldn't be more true. I mean, I'm the job I'm on right now. Sean Ryan and I have, you know,
Sean Ryan, the Navy SEAL podcaster, or
no, no.
oh,
Sean Ryan, the showrunner of The
okay,
Shield
okay,
and
okay.
and SEAL Team, a bunch. He's, incredibly prolific. But he and I met, God, I mean, 16 years ago or something, when he was doing Chicago Code. And he wanted me to do that as the number two guy, but they didn't have the number one guy hired. And it was like essentially the number two guy, as written, was supposed to be about 35, and the main guy was supposed to be like, I don't know, in his 50s.
Yeah.
And they kept throwing all these guys out, and Fox just kept saying, no, 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 no. And they finally hired somebody who was much younger, who was like in his 40s. So then that made my guy have to be like in his 20s. But anyway, I met him on that, and then we ended up doing a pilot together that was a disaster. But I've continued to audition for him over these last 16 years. And to a point where sometimes get really frustrated. You're like, Sean, you know me, like, do I have to do this again? But he, isn't the only person saying yes to stuff. So even though he's a fan, he's he's got to, sell it to the network, and he's got to sell it to the rest of the producers in the room. And so finally, this role came up, and once again brought me in, and finally he was like, we made this one happen. And I was like, look, I'm very grateful to be having this job. And I always point to this, every job that I don't get, the ones that I really thought, oh my God, I really wanted that job, and it didn't happen. I can direct line point to the job that did happen that I would not have gotten if that other thing had happened. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like uh, over and over and over again. Like I did a pilot, I got fired from the pilot. First time I've ever been fired in my life. And I was bummed. I wasn't surprised that I got fired because I really wasn't what they had written on the page. And they decided, you know what, let's kind of go in that direction and see how that works. And then they ended up firing me and hiring me exactly what was on the page. But if I had still been on that show, I never would have got Mare of Easttown, which, was a game
life
changer for
changing.
me.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
just loved working with Kate. I loved having that experience. Um, and then that, it's like, well, if I hadn't done that, when I did that job, then Antoine Fuqua goes, "Oh, who's that guy from that show? I don't know him." And then he hires me in two other jobs.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't have happened if that didn't, you know what I mean? It's like you start pointing and finally working with Sean on this show. I was almost going to do season three, and they ended up hiring another guy. But if I had done season three, then I wouldn't have been able to do this season, and I wouldn't be doing it in LA, and I wouldn't have been able to see my kid hit his first home run.
Yeah.
It's like I can point to all the things if I don't want to get too woo-woo about it, but like
No, yeah,
when you
yeah.
kind of in that despair where you're like, if you just can find a way to breathe through the frustration, keep moving forward, keep believing in yourself, something good will come. It's so hard to do. And that's why not everybody stays doing this profession because sometimes that gets overwhelming. And believe me, I fight that all the time now that, especially now that I have a mortgage and I have two kids in
I
school. You're just like, okay, how the heck, when you're young, you think anything is possible. And now I'm in my 50s, I still think anything is possible. I mean, you look at, I think I just saw some clip with Seth Rogen saying, like, Ian McKellen, no one really knew who Ian McKellen was until he was
yeah.
Magneto when he was in his 60s. And then he became, one of the, he was always a great actor. And I knew who he was well before Magneto. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just sometimes that thing happens for people later in their career. You look at Morgan Freeman,
Yeah.
hitting his 50s. It's like you can point to these places where the certain thing happens and then it just shifts people's perspective. And was Morgan Freeman a better actor later in life? No. I mean, he's always been amazing. It's just that certain thing hit at the right time, and then all of a sudden those other opportunities presented themselves, and he capitalized on all of them. So if you keep that belief in yourself, like that whole thing of luck is like preparation meets opportunity. It's if you're ready for that moment and you capitalize on it. That's how I always felt about my career. Like I had all these,
Well, let's like to kind of like utilize, for example, like what you're speaking about is so deep and profound, and not to make this about me, but like so much of my breakup is related to like I'm an actor, I recur on SVU, could I go get the job and do that and secure the mortgage and give it up, or do I have this podcast that I love and committing to the acting life? And obviously I chose this. And for you, right before you get to the office, and I don't know when you and your lady met, like yeah, obviously you were doing, I'm sorry I'm keeping it linear here, but you had all these amazing credits. That seems to kind of be the first one for you where it was like a 31 episode stretch. What did it look like for you? Like did that finally give you the room to then feel comfortable to build a life with someone? And also let's talk about working in that show as well.
um, yeah. So
Sorry, that was a lot I threw at you.
no, it's all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So going back to that point in my life, I was married to somebody else at the time, and I yeah, I remember a buddy of mine had seen the British office and he called me and he goes, "Hey, they're doing an American version of this show, and I think it's right up your alley." Because it's like the type of comedy I like. That's very character based. It's
Yeah.
not broad. That's very, dry. And,
British.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just love that type of comedy. And he knew that. And so I watched the British show and I was like, oh my God, this is genius. And so I call my agent. I go, hey, I hear they're doing this American version of the show. Can you get me in? And my agent literally said, really? You want to do that? And in his defense, there had been a lot of British shows that they brought over and they tried to, do an American version of them and they all failed. Every once in a while they work, but oftentimes it doesn't translate. And I said, yeah, just get me an audition. And at this point, they'd already cast Jim and Dwight, and so the only thing really left was Roy. And so I went in and I did my audition, and then they called me, a couple days later, and I got the job. And so at the time I did a bunch of pilots. Like I think I've done probably 10 or so pilots,
God,
but
I
I did
missed
a bunch,
that.
yeah. I would do I would do parts on pilots that like were, recurring, that would be a recurring role,
Yeah.
just because I thought, well, if this thing goes, then, maybe that could turn into something else. And I really felt like with The Office, like, man, you got to have this character around. Like, um, so I was just a guest star. And then when we got picked up for the first season, I was just a recurring guest star. And I remember being really annoyed that like BJ Novak's character, like, he got the most insane deal. He was this hot young writer that everybody wanted. And Greg was like, we're going to put you in the show. We're going to make you a writer on the show and a producer on the show. And he's like, I don't know, the same age as Krasinski because they went to high school together. So I'm like, how's this guy get a series regular job? And and this character should be a series regular. Then it wasn't. And then eventually, in the middle of season two, they called to say, hey, we want to make you a regular. And for the rest of this season and then next season. And they offered me so little money that I passed on it. I said, no, I'm good. I don't want to do this. I'll just recur. Um, and I realized like, that's part of the business. Like you have to be willing to say no. Like literally,
Yeah.
I'm walking away from this to be able to have any leverage to try to get anything more because all of us are just like, yeah, sure, I'm happy to work. Give me the job. But I'd carried around like being annoyed for like a year and a half that it
Yeah.
hadn't happened earlier that I was like, screw these guys. And then the second I said that, I remember like, I'll never forget calling my agent back and going, yeah, can we, maybe not. And he goes, it's too late, man. I already made the call. We just have to sit and wait. And I was going, oh my God. I just turned
Wow.
this down. And then sure enough, they came back and they offered me more money. And then they offered me like in the what would then at that point be the fourth season, like all the money in the world and series regular, every show produced. And my agent goes, just so you know, this is a year and a half deal. And I go, yeah, I figured that. There's no way that they're going to pay me that. Um, and so I knew that it was only going to be another year and a half that I'd be on the show. And I was happy to do it. And I had a great arc on that third season, which, God, in network television, rarely do they give you character arcs like that, where,
Yeah.
you know, we really, Greg Daniels was like, I really want to make this like, you spend the first year and a half making him the biggest idiot in the world that's just treating this woman terribly so that, you want her to be with the other guy. And then he wants to create a triangle. So then we got to swing that back and figure out a way to make you empathize with this character and try to make you root for him. And then we'll pull the rug out from everyone. But I remember saying, okay, I don't know how we're going to do that. But he goes, well, I think you can. I believe in you, and we'll write to it. And I said, the only thing I can say is the only way this is going to work if he realizes the mistake he's made and wants to try to you know, make it better. And the beauty of The Office is you have those talking heads where you get to have that inner monologue. And he literally in like two lines says, I got to win her back. I blew it, and he's emotional about it. And so all of a sudden you go, what? what's this character? And so then you get to go on this journey of like trying to win her back, and then you realize this is not the right person this couple does not belong together.
Yeah.
And then they gave me this beautiful ending where he wasn't, like gets to get married and like and basically saying Roy's not a bad guy, he's just not the right guy for Pam. And
Yeah.
I really appreciated that because, part of the thing of why I also was willing to say no is it's not fun being the bad guy like
Yeah.
that. Like, it's fun for a little bit, but like, after a while, you're just like, "Ugh, I hate just being this douche. This is not fun for me."
Yeah.
And
Especially on a show that big.
yeah,
I
but
mean,
it's
is that what you get most recognized for?
yeah. I mean, once that hit Netflix, it was like game changer. I mean, I mean, if you ever, you look at the numbers when that was on Netflix, it was like I don't even know what the percentage point was, but it was like I want to say, let's say it was a 10, right? Of the
Yeah.
amount of people, 10 billion or I don't know, whatever the hell it is. It's 10. The next closest thing is Friends, which is at like a 4. Like, and then the next thing after that is like, Young Sheldon, and then I mean, or sorry, Big Bang Theory, and
Yeah.
then it's like it's just so the increment is like so like it was so massive, and everybody felt that like it was way more popular than it ever was when it was on its initial run on NBC. And it's still very popular now. I mean, on Peacock. And then they went, and which I have never watched any of these, but they redid all of these episodes where they added all the footage that we had cut out of the original production because it was too long. They added it all back in so they can sell that whole thing again. It became
Wow.
a cash cow for them.
And
But
and then for you, obviously like coming off that, was that a hard transition to then go back to the marketplace?
No, I was no, 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 no. I was very happy to get back because I wanted to get a show. I wanted to get my own show, like
Yeah.
where I wasn't that character. And so, um, yeah, it goes back to like 2010, and and Greg did a really really nice thing for me. So I've told this story before. We're in the third season. We're sitting down at the table read, and it's the episode where you see Roy switch. All of a sudden, he becomes a bad guy again. Where you're just like, oh no 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 no. And right before I think right after we read it or something, all of a sudden it came out. The news came out. We just got picked up for 3 seasons, and everyone's going, "Oh my God, this is so great!" And they're freaking out, and I'm sitting right next to Greg Daniels, and I turn to him and I go, "Yeah, but I'm not going to be there, am I?" And he goes, "No, I got to get Romeo and Juliet together. We're not killing you off, so we might have you come back, but yeah." Because that was sort of the confirmation where I'm like, I know I have the contract where I'm in every, episode
Yeah.
going forward, but I know that that's not a real contract. And and then I said to him, I said, okay. I said, would it be then okay for me to audition for pilots? And this was, it was like at the beginning of pilots. This is back when we had pilot season. And he goes, yeah, I think that would be okay. And he didn't have to do that because I was under contract. And oftentimes, they'll be like, no,
Yeah, they're
we
gonna
don't want
hold you
everyone to
to
know
it.
that you're not going to be there. So if you sign under this other thing, then people are going to know. So he was very kind and allowed that to happen. And then I ended up getting, that was that same pilot season. And like, I'm trying to remember. No, 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 no. Sorry. It wasn't the same pilot season I met my wife. It was the pilot season before that. I got a pilot with Ray Seahorn and James Vanderbeek and Will Arnett, and it
Mm.
it didn't go. But we had a great time filming it, and then I got another pilot the next season, and that season was a really good season for me because Fox wanted to make a deal with me to put me in something. So I really wanted to do Chicago Code with Sean Ryan, but because of that whole situation where they're trying to cast that in the right age appropriate, they were like, "Look, we really want you to do this other show called Traffic Light, which is this buddy, couples comedy."
Hmm.
And I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to do the Chicago Code thing, but they basically gave me a deal. That weekend came in with the offer for Traffic Light, and it was like you got to decide by Monday. And we talked about it, and what was presented was like, look, we'll make a deal with you that you'll do one or the other. And then we realized I'm never doing Chicago Code. They want me in Traffic Light. And this is another good one. So Dana Walden, who was the head of Fox,
Yeah, she's at Disney now, right?
yeah,
Or yeah.
she's huge, right? Dana Walden, I get a call from Dana Walden's office, says Dana wants to have drinks with you tonight. And we went, whoa, 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 whoa. What do you mean? Because she's going to convince me to do the show that they want me to do, right? And we knew that was going to happen. And so we were like, okay, no, let's not. We got to make the decision what we want to do. We're not going to get leaned on by Dana Walden because I'm not going to be able to say no to Dana Walden. So like, let's just figure this out first, and then so we spent the weekend talking about it and realized the best option for me at that moment was Traffic Light, which turned out to be the greatest option because I met my wife on that show.
Wow.
And then, the show only lasted one season. It was okay, but that life happened, and life to me is like those are the things that really matter to me. I'm very grateful for the career I've had, but I'm more grateful for the life that I'm living with my kids
Yeah.
and all that and my wife.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So
Wow.
so yeah, like I say, I can always point to the thing that didn't happen, you know, the thing that happened because the thing I thought I wanted didn't work out. And
Yeah.
so there's another one of those examples. It continues to happen in my career over and over if I look for it.
But then you have, so many other amazing things like Men, Women, and Children. You do Mad Men, After Earth, like Parenthood, like then, before we get to True Detective, like was this like, at this point then were you okay, or was it a struggle every year to kind of book these jobs? Because I know it's never the way it looks on IMDb of just like, oh,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, it did take a while there, because I don't know that I did another pilot after Traffic Light. If I'm looking back on it, I'm being honest, I think I did that and then I kept doing other things, but they weren't pilots. The traditional network stuff just um and it's not just that they didn't want me. There's a lot of stuff that I just didn't go out for, that was
Yeah.
like looking for this other type of work, you know. Parenthood was a great gig. That was so much fun, and I really loved working with Erica Christensen, and that was like just great, great meaty stuff to play with, and they were so like laxed on like the lines and stuff. Like I couldn't believe it. The first day we show up and we do our first take, and then the director goes, "Yeah, just put it in your own words. Just say whatever you want to say." And I go, "Wait, what?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've got four cameras on this." I'm like, "Okay." So they're shooting in both directions and a master and like a close up. And so whichever version we decide to say that they've got it covered. So it wasn't precious. And they were it was just very freeing as an actor. You just be in the moment and do the scene and play with it. And there was just a freedom there that like even more than, The Office. It was really free. I mean, that's the thing I always say about The Office too. So many people are like, oh, can you just improv like you did on The Office? I'm like, no, no, no. You guys are giving so little respect to those writers. We had an incredible staff of writers, and they would throw out alts nonstop to us. There was very little improv going on from my end, and you know, there was clearly there was improv happening here and there, but so much of that was scripted. Like you're doing a disservice to those writers by assuming that all those actors just made it up on their own.
Mm, wow. Man, you're incredible. Like this is I love speaking to you, man. I thank you for your insights and obviously like, because we had so many mutual friends on it, like, let's jump deep into 13 hours. Like how
Yep.
did that come your way?
Man, that was another just an audition from Denise Chamian, who brought me in for years and years and years and years and years. I think she cast me maybe in Big Fish, if I'm right. But that was a long, long time ago. So like I say, you're not auditioning for this job, you're auditioning for 10 jobs down the line. And eventually this thing came up and and I remember I got the audition and it was like, one of these guys, there was like, there's six contractors. So it was like, we were all reading for all of the parts, basically. And and I remember I was really sick when I came in. And she goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." I'm like, "I'm dying here." She goes, "David, we can reschedule this. Come back on Monday, get better. Because you could really be one of these guys. You could, and I said, "Okay, I'm so sorry." She's like, "No, it's okay. But this doesn't have to be today." So I came back then on that Monday and and auditioned um and then she really was the person that, you know, cast that. Like I remember her, telling Michael Bay, like Michael Bay didn't know who any of us really were, I don't think. And certainly didn't know who I was. Only knew who John was because his like niece was like, "Oh my God, I love John Krasinski." And she was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" "Well, he's on The Office and he's amazing. He's so, and he was like, "Okay." Like he really could care less about the actors
Yeah.
often. And so Denise was like, and you go, why don't I gotta hire this guy? Because I've seen everybody. These are the right guys for the parts. He's like, okay. And I know he never watched The Office because if he'd watched The Office, he never would have cast us to be in that movie together because, we're we're so famously known for that dynamic of that love triangle. And but yeah, we shot in Malta. We had a lot of camaraderie with the guys. We really got along really well. Michael's crazy, and he creates he likes to create chaos. Um he likes to have an enemy. It's always somebody fucking with him, whether it's the prop guy or some actor or the studio or someone. He functions from that place where he's fighting something, like, and you want to go, "Michael, it's okay. The only reason why anyone's fighting is because you. You don't need to do this. It's not necessary," but that's how he functions. And my wife likes to joke. I had PTSD when I came back. I was like, I have
Yeah,
PTSD.
Badge
Fake
and
PTSD.
Costi had so many things to say about that job.
Yeah, I mean, he loved shooting the action. He hated shooting the scenes where we just talked. He hated that stuff. And he would so much so that he wanted to like towards the end, we had all these scenes. Like there's like I don't know, two or three scenes where we're on the roof, just guys talking about shit. And he was like, we'll film this in LA. And John was like, "No, no, Michael, we've been running around here for 3 freaking months, like shooting guns. Let us just have a scene here. Let's do it here while we're here." And he was like, "All right, fine," and like but we never knew what we were filming. We just all showed up, and the AD never knew what we were filming. He'd be like, "Everybody come in." And then we'd get there, and he didn't want to have any scene numbers. He'd be like, "That scene of the thing where the guy," and you're like, "Wait, what are we shooting right now?" "Oh, the scene where I see my best friend get blown up and his body get thrown over." "Oh, we're doing that now." "Yes, now get on the roof." "Okay, let's go." So it was like the that was the work of the day. It was always, you never knew what was going to happen. But at the end of the day, like I was like, "I'll never work with Michael Bay again." And then you watch the movie and I go, "Oh, it's a pretty good movie. I guess I would do it again. I mean, this way I would know what I'm dealing with."
It's a
And
shouting match, right? It kind of seems like, I
a
mean,
little
Jason,
bit,
yeah.
as long as you don't front back, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I always just treated Michael like he was a child having a meltdown, like, okay. And I'd look him in the eye and I'd go, "I hear you. Okay, you want me to get on the roof? I'll get on the roof." And it would throw him. He'd just be like, "Whoa." And then 2 seconds later, he'd be like, "I'm sorry, it's just crazy, this thing." And I'd be like, "It's okay. I hear you." It's like he wanted to like have this conflict on set, and then he wanted to go have a beer afterwards. Like he'd be like, "I'm not crazy," and you're like, "Okay, it's only crazy because you are." making it crazy. But if you like his movies, that energy is on the screen, like that's what he's going for. Um, but yeah, no, it was cool. And the thing I will say is so many times throughout my career, I thought, oh, this is the thing that's going to like change things for me. This is going to move the needle. And it just never did. It's been the longevity of my career that's like moved the needle. It's not like one particular thing that like that all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, you're that guy from that thing. Um and now we need to have you in my next project. It's not it's never been like black and white like that.
Did that kind of like then help you get other kind of like action things like Power Rangers and Logan Lucky?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay. Because it was
yeah,
such a big movie. I mean, it
yeah,
does work. And you're great in it. I mean,
thanks. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know like I would say it helps. Like the job I'm doing now is another like sort of contractor guy, very similar that Sean Ryan saw, and he knew that I was in that and knew I had done that type of stuff before. So once again, we go back to them going, "Oh, I know he can do this, so now I don't have to worry because he's done it before." But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that, I mean, the 13 hours, I mean, sorry, the Power Rangers was with John Papsadera as the casting director for that. And
Wow.
another guy that I came into for years and never hired me, and then finally hired me on one thing. And then he's now hired me on a bunch of things, and continues to hire me and has always been a champion of mine. But yeah, but it's been a very, very long time coming that he finally did start hiring me. So, I mean, I always do
With
say this
Pap
too, like,
Sidera?
yeah, with John Papsadera,
Wow.
these guys want you to win. Like casting directors want you to solve their problem. They
Yeah.
want you to come in and be what they're looking for so they can stop. Like
Yeah.
they're not against you, everyone is, and I saw this like when I did that traffic light pilot, we were auditioning all these different women to be my wife. And I said, I'll read with them. And they were like, "Wow, okay." Because I'm like, it was important to me to have that chemistry with somebody that like, so I was willing to come in for casting, and they're like, "It's a little early. We're still like kind of doing callbacks." And I was like, "That's fine." Like, and I've got nothing else going on, so I'm happy to participate. And I would be like, "Oh, she's great, but it's not the right fit." Like, "Oh, and this person's great, but she's missing this part of the character that just is not there." And it goes back to that, like, we can't give that note that's it's not a tangible thing, like I was just saying, I was talking to somebody else about this. I just, there was this pilot that I recently auditioned for. And on the page, I was like, oh, I'm totally right for this. And then I auditioned and it just wasn't clicking. And I was like, something is not right here. And I can't put my finger on it. But I did a decent audition and I sent it off. And I rarely follow up with something and be like, hey, can I get some notes from casting on this? And this one I was like, can you just ask casting to give me some notes? Because I know it's not right, but I don't know what's wrong. Um, and usually I'm a pretty good eye for like what I think is right or wrong for a character, which, I really do. I'm one of the few people that really enjoys putting myself on tape rather than going in the room because I get to do what I want to do. And oftentimes I've heard this from other directors and be like, man, I just saw 10 guys all doing the exact same note. And what I don't get is 10 different options, which goes back to that, Howie Deutsch thing saying, I don't want you to do what he's doing. I want you to do what you're doing. And then I decide which I think is the best fit for this role.
Mhm.
And so when we're doing the self tapes, we're putting it's coming through our instrument. So it's going to be our take on it. And in this instant, I was like, something's not right. and they sent it to my agents looked at it. My manager looked at it. She goes, I don't know, David. I think it's great. I think you're doing exactly what is asked of the role. And we sent it to casting, and casting said it was great. And I said, oh, okay. But in my head, I'm like, no, something's not right. And then I kept looking to see, well, will there be a callback or anything? And then they cast somebody. And I saw who they cast. And I was like, ah, that's so much better than what I was doing. And it's not, it's intangible thing where I'm like, now I get why it didn't work for me and why it works for him. And when you're able to do that, it's so much easier to let things go. You're just like, I'm not, I don't have to compare because, when you try to do that comparison, man, it's the death, man.
Yeah.
It's cancer. It's like you can't, you know, I'm at a stage in my life where yes, I need work, and yes, we've all taken a hit from the pandemic and from the strike. And, when I was walking those picket lines, I knew I'm like, they're going to get their money back. They're going to get it back one way or the other. They're just going to squeeze us. But we're fighting for the future to have a piece of that pie when it comes back. And it was the same thing when the last strike happened, when we were on The Office. Salaries got crushed and then they had to slowly grow back up. And that's, I'm seeing that happen now. Um, but it's been a long couple of years here that that I've seen so many of my friends really, really struggling, and you're looking for like, what's the thing? I got to get a new agent. My agent's not getting me enough auditions, and it's like, I just had this conversation with my buddy who's like, an Emmy nominated actor, terrific, terrific actor. I'm like, it's not the agent, man. I'm telling you, there's just not that much work that's happening. And at this point in our career, they know who we are,
Yeah.
like it's not like we've got to open that new door that's not been there. It's just the right thing hasn't come along. And when it does, it's gonna be yours. It's gonna click. And it's easy to say when you have a job, but when you haven't had a job for a couple of years and you're considering selling your house because you don't know how you're gonna survive in another couple of months, it just goes like, ugh, you feel that pressure. I feel it. Like before this job, there was 9 months I didn't have a job. I kept auditioning, things didn't work out. I wasn't auditioning a lot, but things I thought, oh, this could be that thing. This could be that thing. And it just it didn't happen. And I would see my buddy here get that gig, and I'm like, good for him. My buddy here get that gig. I know that guy's got a family too. Good for him. It wasn't my job, and at some point it'll be my job, and then it'll be my job to do the best I can and make it the most interesting, you know, role that I've ever played. It's
Yeah.
like when you get lucky enough to get it, then you start that mind working and do all the fun stuff, all the creative stuff where you get to, try to answer all those questions and play with it. But
Do you think for you as an actor, I mean, for my audience listening, as someone who got to come up in this old system and had all these amazing credits, then transitioning to self tapes for you, can you talk a little bit to the audience, about that?
well, I got to be honest, like I don't miss the grind of driving around town and and trying to. I mean, God, back in the day when it was like the pilot season and you would go to one audition in the morning and then you'd
Yeah.
be changing your clothes in the car and you go to another audition. They're not getting your best work, one. And two, yes, there is a level of like, uh, like being on stage, right? It's like you're in front of an audience. So all of a sudden, all that adrenaline kicks up, and yeah, you end up giving sometimes a better performance than you would have if you're just sitting in your, you know, in a room with a camera. I mean, before it transitioned, I was already saying, I'll put myself on tape. I don't want to come in and see the casting director. Um, because I really felt like, um, how do I put this? like that idea that there was like 10 actors all getting the same note.
Yeah.
So a director would see 10 of the same note, and I just felt like if I'm not doing it right, then give me a note and I'll change it. I think I've been given a note maybe 3 times in 10 years. Like most of the time it's in the pocket. Either it's right or either it's just really not the right what they're going for the part. And so it doesn't, it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. But it's I guess the thing I miss is the camaraderie of seeing all those guys and just seeing that we're all on the grind together. Um, and so there's a level of like, I know friends have moved out of state, moved out of LA, and they're living, and they're going, "Ah, am I missing something? Like I feel like I'm like not in the game." And I'm like, there's no game anymore. Like you can live anywhere as
Yeah.
long as you're near an airport, um, and and you're able to have an agent that gets your tape in. I mean, there can only be so many tapes these casting directors are looking at. That's the other part of it, right? Like, I think I was just saw this like statistic. There was like, some series regular for some show. It was a African American lead male, and they had like 10,000 submissions or something. Like they're not seeing 10,000 tapes.
Yeah.
Like they can't. So you're lucky if they see, 50 tapes, maybe 100 tapes. Like and they're only probably watching the first few minutes of that, and then moving on, it's like I don't know how somebody comes up in the business right now as a young
Well,
actor.
that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
We, there's so much I want to ask you, but this is the final question. If like,
Yeah.
like we're setting the stage. It is just like, for me, I didn't break in until 2022. And I got a little bit taste of the old one, but I mean break in of like consistently start working.
Hmm.
And now, it kind of feels like there was this old guard way of like, you got to meet the casting directors. They knew the things you were right for. So at least when you went to self tapes, they knew. But so many of the people that have cast me have never even met me. I've still not met them. I've done the Gilded Age. I've never, you know what I mean? I've never met Telsey, and
Yep.
anyone there. And, for the actors listening now that like, with things filming in Budapest where they don't have like a Gersh to get them those jobs because they're going to go with like the bigger names to kind of bring them to producers. And for people that are just like now trying to get agents and like and everyone is kind of like speaking to some of the clips you've seen from my podcast of getting pushed down by all these movie stars, like what advice would you have for those that are like you, David, that whether they graduated from Juilliard or not and they want to break in, like any advice?
Yeah. You can't look at it as being as impossible as it is, because you got to have faith in yourself. You got to have an incredible burning belief in yourself. Like I always feel like I got a chip on my shoulder, like I'm proving all those people wrong who laughed at me when I was a kid. Who said, "You can't do this. You're never going to be that." And so you got to have a little bit of a moxie, right? Um, but like I point to this girl Shannon who I just did MIA with, which is this show on Peacock. Young girl, she's I don't know, in her 20s. She came up during the pandemic, like taking acting classes online, and Zooms and stuff like that. And she just hustled and she, sent out, I think she told me she sent out 100 letters and got one response. And that one response is the only option she had at that point. And so you got to take it until the next better option comes along, right? It's like there's an old story. When I was at Juilliard, I remember Beverly D'Angelo came in and she gave us this one word of advice, which was, the thing about agents that nobody tells you about is you never marry the first person you fuck. And I was like, whoa. And has been true. Like, I've had agents and they've dropped me and I've gone to other agents and then my agent left and went somewhere else and said, "Hey, you want to come with me here?" And well, I don't know. I got to figure out what the best situation is for me and my family at this point. And so I would make those choices along the way. I've been lucky. I've been at UTA for a very long time now, and I've gone through multiple agents. They either, pivot and go to another agency, um, or they become managers or whatever. And UTA has always been really great in finding me another young agent to come in and pick up because I don't make them a whole lot of money. Like I am not a movie star. So the
Mhm.
fact that they still keep me around and keep, putting me out, I think it's because I've been lucky enough to consistently keep getting work. But I'm not a cash cow for them, like, and you get their resources and their money are going to be spent on that younger
Timmy
thing.
Chalamet,
Yeah, of
whatever. Yeah.
course. I had Timmy Chalamet's agent for a
Brian.
while. No, Steven Trevisero.
Oh, okay.
And he got brought into the team at one point, and he was my agent for a number of years. And I got some great auditions. I really got some like in things where I was like, oh man, this would be great to get. And then all of a sudden one day I was like, I don't see Steven in the emails anymore. And then I had to call my manager and was like, is Steven still my agent? And she was like, let me call and find out. And she goes, yeah, no, he's kind of gotten moved up the ladder into being, Timmy's guy or one of his main guys. He's now a partner. So they shortened his list down. And I know I didn't make that cut. You know what I mean? So, but it didn't mean that they didn't believe in me. They're going to put their resources on the things that they think are going to, you know, bring them the most revenue at some point. And so since I've always been able to get, some sort of limited series and make,
Mare of
a decent,
Easttown, something we got to speak about a little bit.
yeah.
Do you going to,
But anyway, sorry to go back to the
yeah,
to answer to go back to Shannon. She got that one thing. She got an audition and then, she capitalized on that opportunity. She was able to get this audition for this show and they get a call back and another call back and another call back. And then finally she became the girl. And, they took a huge swing, a huge risk, but they believed in her. And so it's possible. It's all there. It's almost the same sort of possibilities it was when I was coming up. It's just um it's all just a roll of the dice though, like they are looking for the next they're looking for the next thing. You know what I mean? They really are. Um, but it sometimes feels like, they're not looking for me.
yeah.
Like, um,
Do
and
you
I
think,
could say that,
uh,
finding carving out a place for yourself in the business, is something that you we all have to take in our own hands, like you mentioned, like, yes, I've been able to do comedy and drama and action movies and, kitchen sink dramas, you name it. A big part of that is me believing in myself and saying, I don't want to do that again. Like, I don't want to play Roy again or a version of Roy. So oftentimes I'll get that phone call. And if I sniff it, I go, no, I'm good. But sometimes I go, well, it's very similar, but God, that's a really good actress to be working opposite, or oh, that's a really good director. So maybe I'll go do that kind of thing again. I mean, I'm always playing that blue collar guy, which is great. It's just fine. It's my bread and butter. But you have to choose what you say yes and no to. And you got to sometimes say no to things so that you can say yes to the other thing. And I mean, it's all just a leap of faith, though. At the end of the day, you don't none of it's guaranteed. None of it, it's like it's yeah. I don't know. There's no golden ticket to like get into this business, this industry. I wish there was. I wish I knew because I talk to young actors and you know I used to say, God, if there's anything else you'd like to do, like go for it because this is hard. It's really hard. And then I kind of softened on that. And I'm like, screw that. The whole world is going to tell you you can't do something and it's too hard. So why be the person that's telling them? Like, say, if you believe in it, you want to go for it, go for it. Like, I didn't need somebody when I was 18 years old to say, "Oh, that's too hard. Maybe you should do something else." Like you needed those people to say, "Fuck it. Like get up to the plate and take your swing. At least you're trying. And
Yeah.
like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's okay. And it's okay for it not to work out. But like to not take the swing, to not give it a shot, like I couldn't live with that. I couldn't live with that.
I guess what you want to expound upon and ask you is like, for actors like myself that are, listening, that like because of the dynamics of the business and all these strikes that are stuck in perpetual co-star land, and like getting a guest star is impossible because as you've kind of mentioned with this, like your experience at UTA is like all those people that used to be the leads of TV shows are now getting guest stars, and all, like in movie stars have moved into number ones. Like, do you think a career like yours is still possible?
Well, yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm living it.
I mean, for the next generation, you know what
Yeah.
you
Yeah, I mean, how could it not? Right? I mean, there's all, look, like I said with Keanu Reeves, right? There's always some other job that you wanted to get you couldn't get.
yeah.
And even the guy who's at the top of the thing, there's someone ahead of him. It's like, and even for that producer, I remember that producer on their placement saying, "Well, Keanu read the script and said yes. What am I going to do? Say, well, hold on, let me see if I can go get Brad Pitt." Like, it's all a balancing act. Like, there's always that job, that everyone, I don't care how big you are, you go, "Oh, that would be cool to do that." And they're looking for the best thing they can get. I mean, I like this job MIA that I just did. I got the job and I was literally on a plane 24 hours later. And I knew the director. She was like, "David, this is David. This you got to get David for this. I've just worked with him. He's great. You got to get David for this. And they were like, "We want to get Matthew McConaughey. We want to get Jared Butler." And I'm like, "To do 2 episodes of a Peacock show? Like, really? Do you really think that he's gonna do that?" And they're holding out hope. You never know. Maybe he just loves it so much. And so they wait to the last possible second to pull the trigger. And I mean, I was working on Monday and I got the call Thursday night. And I go, "How many other guys said no?" And they're like, "Nobody. We didn't send it out to anybody. They were still trying to play the name game." And I'm going, wow. I mean, and I'm on the show and yeah, I talked to my wife about this because I was blown away. I walked down to the lobby to get in the van, and Edward James Olmos is sitting there, and I go, "Oh, Edward James Olmos, he's shooting something here." Not for 1 second did I put it together that he was shooting what we were shooting. I just thought, "Wow, that's crazy. They're shooting another project." And then I put two. I was like, "Wait, oh, you're playing that role?" And it was literally a 1 day guest star. And I'm like, this guy's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's been nominated for an Oscar. He's won Emmys. And he is so happy to be here doing 1 day guest star on our Peacock show
Yeah.
that it put everything in perspective to me. I was like, hold on now. Like, that's how few jobs are out there that, like, when you do get one, you're so happy to get it. And we can sit in the bitterness of it. Well, that's not fair. That guy's a movie star and he's doing the co-star, the guest star role. I don't think it serves you at all. I don't think it serves anybody. Like it's hard. It's hard. And so I
You
don't want
would
to blame anybody for taking a job, you
you
know?
you would encourage the actors listening, like, and even include myself included, to continue to do the co-stars, because it's don't do the I need to be guest star only thing at this point, because it's so hard to find work in the business. Because I think there is this, like, like it's so hard to. I feel like so many actors, and particularly in my comment section, is it's like it's so hard to move through the ranks now because it's
Yeah.
just like there's fewer and fewer guest stars. Everything is becoming a co-star or number one, two, and three. And, like you kind of get to a certain point or a certain age, what we were saying earlier, life hits. And it's great to like have work as an actor, but ultimately, I'm sure as no producer at any network is going to go, well, this guy's done 10 co-stars, so we can have him as the lead for this show, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
I know that's a hard question. I'm sorry.
definitely a valid point. I mean, look, the end of the day, it comes down to what you're willing to do. I mean that, and and things that I would have never done. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing a one day guest star on some show. Like, given the right circumstances, I'm saying yeah. Like, and right, what those circumstances are money, creative, the role, the director, the other actor you're working with, the location, right? Oh, it's in my backyard. It's home. I can go for one day. I can go do this. Fine, I'll go do it. Or oh, I want to go back to Miami. I'm gonna go see some friends who live there. All right, they'll fly me out to Miami. They'll put me up, and I'll work for a day, and I get to go see my a cousin or whatever. You know what I mean? Like those are the three things. And if you can get two of those things, then you won that job. That's like, and if you get all three, I mean, that's the trifecta. It doesn't happen. So all I'm saying is, yes, you have to have you have to stand up for yourself and your worth, and you go, you know what? I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go, you know,
Continue to do co-stars.
yeah, I'm not going to continue to do co-stars. And you know what? And there will be a trade-off, right? Like if that's what you end up having to do, you may then be able to get that guest star, right? And then you just go, I'm going to continue on that path. Um, but if you continue doing it, I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I know.
The
It's hard.
reality is I don't know the answer to that because, you know, um, it's all about what you're willing to do, and it's like, man, at some point somewhere, you're like, doing a co-star on this show is going to pay me more money than I ever made doing that play that I love doing. That you go, you know what? All right, like I'm going to go collect that paycheck. But yes, if you go like, well, I only do this, then you sort of you stand for something at a certain point, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I value myself higher than that. But they're always going to try to get you to do it for as little money as they possibly can. I mean, let's not make that let's not assume that that's not always going to be the case. I mean, when I got Mare of Easttown, they offered me what I got paid to do a pilot presentation on the first pilot season I was out of school. And I had to say no. I had to say I was so like shocked. I couldn't believe it. It was like such a slap in the face that I literally told my team at the time, don't even counter. Literally just tell them, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you had no money for this job. Thank you, but no thank you. And my team had to walk me off the ledge and go, okay, hold on. Like, let's calm down, David. Like, let's try to see if we can, make some calls. And my manager, she called the cast director and said, it's not going to happen. He's not doing it. And she went, what do you mean? What are we what are you talking about? And I'm like, they offered him nothing. Like, what do you mean? And then my lawyer at the time, got into it and he was like, oh, guys, this is so insulting. Um, that they came back and said, oh my God, we're so sorry. Somebody made a mistake. Nobody made a mistake. Somebody thought they could get away with it. Somebody in business affairs thought, you know what? This is a HBO. It's Kate Winslet. It's all of this cachet. I bet he'll do it for nothing. That's what they tried to do. And so I went, no. And so we had to fight for like 2 months from the time I got offered the job to the time I finally said yes to get back to where my salary was. And then I've had to take pay cuts since then because of the strike and because of,
You're feeling the squeeze too.
oh my God. Oh my God. Yes. Insane. Insane. Like,
I think us
yes.
actors are getting laughed at when we say like, "Hey, now we want to do a guest star," and like, literally, agents are like guest stars. You know what I mean? And it's just like we feel like misled. You know what I mean? Of
Yeah.
like, if we do these things right, you will go up in the system, and then it's like Soviet Union style. We feel like some people are like cutting off the ladders they used to climb. Yourself, not one of them. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And it's been frustrating. So I'm trying to speak to some things I'm seeing in my
Yeah.
comments and both in my own experience. And you're an incredible actor and you deserve the world. And I think the best is yet to come for you. And I so deeply want to work with you. And there's not a bigger champion of you as a human and you as an artist than me, and I think you have so many amazing things ahead of you, and I'm just so
Appreciate it.
fucking proud of you, man. Like getting the chance to speak with you today and the legacy of your career, like I honestly feel a little embarrassed that I didn't get to even cover half of it. And I hope you realize that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I babble on.
No, you're incredible, man. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like for all us actors,
Yeah.
you're our hero. You're who we look up to, man. You know what I mean? Like I think, for the public, a lot of people think it's like the Matthew McConaughey's, but like what you have done and the way you have done it and your versatility is like, man, you're yeah, I know you mentioned your mom is no longer with, but I know she's so proud of you and we're all proud of you and you do such beautiful work. And thank you for coming on today and giving back and inspiring and like, I would genuinely love to have you come back again because there's so much we didn't get a chance to touch on. And I just have so much love for you, man, and it means the world to me.
You make me very uncomfortable, but thank you.
Why am I making you uncomfortable?
I don't like, I don't know, I don't get to hear that kind of stuff, but I appreciate it. It's very, I appreciate it. It's, yeah, you know, all I really wanted to do is be a blue collar actor, and that's how I consider myself. Although I've been very, very lucky and very successful. But when I say blue collar actor, it's like I've heard some people, what the hell? You work all the time. I'm like, I get that, but I'm not the face of anything. I'm not that movie star. I'm not. I'm right there below. I'm very happy to be right where I am. You've never seen me on a billboard somewhere. You never seen me on any talk show that's like the Tonight Show. Like you said, it's like I'm a working class actor, and so I'm very, very grateful to be that and to be part of the brotherhood. So I don't knock anybody for taking any job. I really don't. I don't care how famous you are. I really don't. Like everyone's got to work and everyone's got their own reasons. And you know, you got to just keep fighting, man. Keep fighting and clawing your way through it. I mean, you look at Creed Bratton on The Office. Man, that guy was a co-star. And sitting in the background, he worked his way up to being a series regular, and now he can't go anywhere without somebody screaming Creed.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like he had a whole other life, a whole other career that like it started later in life. So any of those opportunities are out there. They really are. You know, you just keep going. Or
Yeah.
you don't, and you go, you know what, I've had it. I tap out. It's been good. I'm gonna go open a dry cleaners. Like whatever. It's like there's nothing wrong with that either. It's like I never tell anyone that, the only guy, it's so funny. Sorry, I gotta say this last thing. The only guy I've ever like, I did this reading with this kid at Juilliard. We went down to Camp Pendleton and we did like there was like five of us doing this reading. And I remember thinking to myself, we were all doing monologues, and I remember thinking to myself, this kid who was putting it together, yeah, super nice guy. This guy's really, I love his mission, what he's trying to do here. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, God, man, I don't know where this guy's gonna work. He's got kind of like big ears. He's not really classically handsome. He's not really character actor. And then I saw him do his monologue, and I was like, that kid is really talented, but good luck to him, man. And he turned out to be Adam Driver. I was like, man, I'll never make a judgment on somebody ever again, like of what that person's going to do in this business or not do in this business, because you just never know. You
Yeah.
never know.
How do you not, just quickly last quite like I feel like so much of the, because like the Hollywood press is kind of loves to shape the narrative about itself, but because it's controlled now by one entity, so much of it is like, and especially even outside the Hollywood press, the press in general loves to cover the doomsday of the entertainment industry. It's impossible. Anytime you go and you find something, it's like Warner Brothers, Paramount this, or this agency fell through this for you and for the audience listening, how do you not let that kind of doomsday scroll affect you?
Well, it does affect me, so
It does.
it
Yeah.
does. I can't pretend like it doesn't. I just I do believe very strongly in the power of what we do. It's our greatest export. People want entertainment that more than anything else that the United States puts out in the world. Entertainment is the number one thing that everyone around the world wants to watch our movies, see our content. So I don't think it's going to go away. Um, I do see all the time, like, I mean, all of this, the budget cuts and everyone losing jobs and stuff, that's as real as it can be. I mean, I see it, my friends in the business all the time that aren't actors, that are, in the entertainment industry that are just getting whole departments gutted, at Paramount and
Everywhere. In the middle
everywhere.
class,
Every,
you talk about being a blue collar, white collar is being decimated,
yeah.
you know?
And they always say, oh, no one's going back to the movies like they did. And I constantly, I stand by this. Make better content. It's simple. People want to go to the theater and see things. They do. People want, every day someone goes, what show are you watching? What's the next thing? We want to
We're
consume that.
longing for it.
We're constantly. And so it's hard to have something that breaks through. It's hard to make good things. Like I don't, no one ever started out making a movie thinking, what, let's make this thing kind of crappy. They think they're making the greatest thing ever, and they're trying, and we all are trying. But so many things get in the way of that like at the end of the day, when I see these studios go, that movie bombed, and then I'll go see it, and I go, well, that movie was terrible. Like, make a better movie, And then you see something like, I guess, went and saw Obsession that like they made for nothing,
Yeah.
and it's a good movie. It's not the greatest movie ever made, but it's a really good movie. It's entertaining to sit in a theater and watch it. And people are going, and they're going, and they're going. We're like, okay, so there, proves my point. Just
Don
make something
Cheadle
that
just
people want to
commented on
see.
my thing about that, like, because Matt and I got in discussion about Nicole Kidman, and it's like, look what's happening. People want new faces, so there is a chance,
They do.
and
And yeah, they, yeah. I mean, people have been telling me, like, my agent told me, God, for the last 10, 15 years, like, what is a movie star anymore?
yeah,
Like, it doesn't translate to the box office. It doesn't translate to, oh, if I get A, then I'm going to get this much money because people just want to go see it.
only
Like,
that.
it doesn't really translate. There's only a handful of those, and it has to be the right vehicle, right? Like,
Right vehicle, right time, right moment in the culture. All three
yeah,
have to
I mean,
align, you know?
it's not just that, but yeah, so there's a reason why they put all that money into that movie, like a,
Marty Supreme.
yeah, or the Rock, right? What he did, he tried to do the Smashing Machine
Yeah, with the Benny
thing,
sad
right?
feet.
Like,
Yeah,
it didn't make very much money at all. It was a passion project for him. But so there's a perfect example. Just because he's in it doesn't translate to it being a
successful.
wildly successful financially. Um, so like it has to be the right person in the right vehicle at the right time, like you said. Like, so there is space for people that you've never seen and you've never heard of. Does anyone know any of those kids that's in Obsession? No, but that movie was the number one, number two at the box office for the last 3 weeks. They're gonna know who that, people on YouTube are, knew who that director was. And so, yeah, that's the other thing I just say is like when I was coming up, we didn't have the iPhone to go make a movie and and learn how to be a filmmaker and put it on YouTube and learn the process of who's going to click and watch and vote. That's a cool thing, I believe now, that like you give access to so many people to become filmmakers. Not all of them are going to be good by any stretch of the imagination, but at least there's a pathway that you don't have to go, get a 16 millimeter film camera to like make your short film. And there's space to fail. And if we don't give space to fail, you never get better and you never get good. So
Yeah.
I love that that's out there. I mean, I tell my agent all the time, find me that new, young, up and coming filmmaker, like I want to be in his movie. Like, you know, I don't want to just be in a Steven Spielberg or Christopher Nolan movie. Like I want to be in a Curry Baker film who's gonna make the next one and the next one and the next one. And like, I mean,
I might
J.K.
have you
Simmons,
something in something I'm writing right now. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Like J.K. Simmons does not have his Oscar if he didn't do the short film,
for
you know,
nothing. Yeah.
for nothing. Like so, like you have to be able to be willing to do those things, to take the shot, to take the chance. And I don't know. I just hope, yeah, I think the business is coming back and it will continue to get better. It's been a slow process. It's been rough you know, I I don't, yeah, I don't know the answer of how it all will come back, but I do believe in it. I do
Yeah.
believe that there's a need for it. There's all these platforms, they all need content. They do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're here to give it to them, come call us.
And
We're ready.
this is content technically. So
Yeah, yeah,
thank
exactly.
thank you for being a part of my show, and thank you for coming on and being so truthful, honest, and yeah, I mean, God, I just, I mean, I already had so much respect for you,
Yeah,
but man, I love you even so much more, and this has meant the world to me, and I know it'll be impossible for you to believe this when I say this, but you really are, one of the greats, man, and know that you have achieved that for so many of us, and if anyone ever tells you otherwise, you tell them to come fucking find me, and I love you, brother. And
thank you.
I know we went for a while, but I mean, I really mean it. Like, come back on whenever the next thing is. And, man, I just got so much love for you and so much gratitude. And I'm going to say, to be continued.
Yeah, right back at you, brother.